in collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up on the programme this week, as the House Environment Committee convened to discuss amendments to the law on dogs, we meet with the head of the Animal Party, who discusses the pros and cons and calls for a census of the animal population in Cyprus.
How many cats? Because they did it in Georgia. In Georgia they did it with a special program on a mobile. My colleagues, we met in Brussels and they showed me that. We can do the same here in Cyprus. A simple program. Every civil person, every citizen, when he sees cats, push the button, the area photograph, and is sent to the central system, and within a week you have the results. We need results to know what is going on here in this country.
And Brexit or no Brexit, there won't be changes to the fees for universities for Cypriots studying in the UK.
The university's minister has guaranteed that Brexit or no Brexit, students going to the UK this autumn, but now also the year after, so starting courses in 2020, 2021, for the duration of their course, they are guaranteed home student fees.
The government has recently concluded a consultation on a proposed bill to amend the law on dogs in Cyprus, and there's been quite a lot of feedback. Joining us to discuss it is the president of the Animal Party of Cyprus, Kyriakos Kyriakou. Kyriakos, first perhaps you can outline the major changes that are proposed, and then we'll talk about the feedback that came in.
Yes, of course we have to mention that this story about the dog law is started back in 2008, then in 2012 with the Ministry of Interior, which is the main body which is responsible for enforcing the dog law, that is the local authorities, the municipalities and the villages. Strangely, after all these years and after about 500 changes, proposals from the organizations to the relevant Environmental Parliamentary Committee, at the end we have today the responsibility, the initiative actually from the Veterinary Department of the Ministry of Agriculture to do the job of the Interior Ministry. They gave them the go-ahead, they brought together the district local authorities and the game fund, and finally they came with a document which was supposed to be a public hearing. Instead of that, they, for some reason, they changed it into, for us to send in written.
An online consultation.
An online consultation, for obvious reasons. It's not the time to talk about it. Why? So, it was amazing how many organizations, groups, animal lovers, some of them they came to us, the proposals, and some of them they were so good, like Vasiliki Mani, an eminent lawyer, and Mrs. Inglesu, which when I read the document, it was unbelievable.
Yes, okay, but what did they say?
What they were saying is that, first of all, these new changes, the proposals from the Veterinary Department, first of all, there are good and bad things, as you know. One good thing is that to register your dog when it's over 2 months, before it was 6 months. Another good thing is that you have to register your dog to the district council. They increased the fines, where some of them is okay, but to register your dog is, instead of 20 euros now, is 72. But somewhere it says that the money will go to the district authorities, this money. And we are saying, yes, they can go there, but you have to give something back. Not just take money to register your dog. Otherwise, Animal Party Cyprus says, free of charge to register if you don't provide anything like a park for dogs. Now,
isn't 72 euros a little bit steep for a registration of a dog?
Indeed.
And then I presume that you have to re-register it every year.
Indeed. That's why even the hunters are against that. They don't agree.
Well, they don't often register their dogs anyway, do they?
So, they don't want it at all, because I went to their consultation of the Game Fund before the Euro elections, and we heard them that they don't want the €5.
So hang on a minute, let's just do this one at a time. Is it going to stay as €72, and then how much do you pay
nothing.
every year?
Nothing is going to change for the time being. The dog law is enforced the way it is since 2002. These changes, these proposals from the government, the Veteran Department, are under consultation, and nothing is going to be enforced. Neither the €72, neither the registration, neither this, neither that. After this consultation, a final document which will probably, after my suggestion to the Commissioner for Volunteering, that we have to meet the two commissioners, Volunteering and Environment, the relevant district council, Animal Party, and to discuss this final document before the document will ended up at the Parliamentary Environmental Committee.
So how long is that going to take?
Well, I can't see that finishing before the end of the year.
So this is ongoing since 2002, and we're still in the consultation and finalising period.
Yes, but it doesn't mean that the law is not is there. It doesn't mean it's not, of course, up to us. These changes are something which make the law better, and
but you said there were some bad ones as well. So
yes.
What are the other provisions that you don't like?
Well, for example, we don't like the remaining of euthanasia. We don't agree with that, and especially now with the new proposals, euthanasia. For example, if you don't have, you confiscate an animal, and if you don't have a place to keep your dog, it might be euthanized. Simple as that. So we don't want that. We don't want also this new proposal about having two dogs or one dog in apartments and all that. You are not allowed in your polykatekia to have an animal because this will bring things upside down concerning the volunteers which are hosting animals in their place.
Well, it seems to me... Okay, it does seem to me very strange that parliamentarians should be even considering telling citizens whether they can have one dog, two dogs or no dogs if they live in a flat. It's none of their business. I mean, obviously you've got to have people who are responsible dog owners, and there are an awful lot of people who are not in flats who have barking dogs keeping neighbourhoods awake at night, but there is the law to deal with that. So why should I, if I live in a flat and I have two toy dogs, be told, if this law passes, that I've got to get rid of one, or I can't have any? Well, to be honest, this is not possible and is not going to pass, in my opinion, because it's actually a constitutional error. It comes against the European ethics, and I can find you the relevant article about the European law, and I don't see, you ask a question, why the Parliament? It's not the Parliament yet, it is a proposal, but as I said from the beginning, these proposals, the reason which are there is this. It was a big problem between the district council, the local authority, municipalities and villages, and the veterinary. What was the problem? When, for example, a dog was fined an owner to leave his dog, the dog pollution or not picking up the poo, who is responsible for that? The veterinary department, he says, it's not our responsibility. It is the district council. The district council says, no, it's not our responsibility. When it was an animal welfare issue, it was about who was to get the responsibility. And that's why now they came here. They come back with these proposals to separate the responsibility. So animal welfare is the veterinary department. The rest concerning pollution, barking, licenses, municipalities. And if there is an issue concerning the game fund, then they would take the responsibility. That's what it's all about. So it's the usual mishmash of 3 or 4 different departments taking a tiny piece of legislation, and then when their problems arise, they say, it's not us, go and talk to them. This isn't going to work, Kyriakos.
Well, that's why August 2017, and put that in black letters, underlined, when I was with President Anastasiadis at the Presidential Palace and we were discussing about our proposal, he came up and he said, Kyriakos, just a moment, what about if we create Commissioner for Animal Welfare? I said, thank you, I will wait for this proposal. Because of what you're saying now, 35 departments, they are dealing with animal welfare, and at the end of the day, this is the result. We need somebody to coordinate these 35 departments.
Right, now you're about to head in, I didn't say at the beginning, we're in our House of Parliament, and you're about to go in and talk to the Environment Committee about this. What are you going to tell them?
Well, today basically we're discussing the proposals concerning the regulating the dog hotels, breeders and shelters. It's not the discussion about the dog law.
That's
but
to come in the future.
Connected.
Okay.
It's connected because from the beginning, Animal Party Cyprus said to the committee that we don't want to discuss dog hotels and breeders. If you really go ahead to discuss that, then you will be responsible and give to the public. The same time, when you are talking about we have an increase of stray abandoned dogs, and at the same time we're coming here to regulate who? The breeders. For what reason? We're going to breed on one side, we're going to have the strays on the other side, the illegal import or legal, or the illegal selling dogs and puppies in the media, Facebook and all that. And I said, these two are financial issues, has nothing to do with the welfare, and shelters, yes, to have some regulations, but...
And some government funding, surely.
Exactly. We're saying, you are asking the shelters to do this and that and that and that according to the regulation we discussed today, but you don't come to say, yes, my dear friends, volunteers of the shelters, we should clean the mess of, we are responsible, but we're not going to give you anything to enforce of what you are asking me to do. So we're saying, yes, about the regulating the shelters, because some of them are illegal, but at the same time, we want the Minister of Agriculture to come up with some financial support, which is needed. The 100,000 which I give every year to shelters, environmental organizations, is not enough. And under conditions, and some organizations, they find it very difficult to give all these papers to the ministry in order to be eligible to get maybe 2,000 euros or 3,000 euros.
So it's got to be simplified, but you mentioned breeders, and I'm sure Cyprus is much like many other countries where there are people who just have puppy farms and sell the dogs. Now that is an animal welfare issue because they're closing them down as fast as they can find them in the rest of Europe. What are we doing?
Well, as I said, the regulation which is discussing today is connected with the dog law. In Article 29 of the dog law is saying very clear that whoever has a female dog to report to the local authorities, and if they have puppies, to report it to the veterinary district officer. Now this article is being wiped out.
By whom?
By the new proposals for the dog law, by the district councils and the veterinary.
Do you know why?
And I said, you have to bring it back, this regulation. Because if it's a matter of enforcing, and there is a problem, then why we go ahead with new regulations when a simple Article 29, you never enforce it? Of course, we say that to enforce a law, you need two elements. You need the public and the government. Now, if the public, it doesn't go to report, how can you enforce a law? By magic? So they both have responsibility.
Sure they do, but the other thing, of course, is that when you register a dog, do you pay more for an unspayed female than you do for one that's spayed? Because that also makes sense.
Well, this is what they are changing also that. For spayed dogs they pay less, for unspayed they pay more.
And that's going to stay?
So, well, it depends. If all the parties, the animal welfare organizations, the hunters, they all agree, because I can see from here, they want to continue to breed. It's here. They don't want to pay registration in the district councils. They don't want to pay that.
But surely, Kyriakos, that's at the core of this whole issue, because we have so many strays, because particularly, I think it's fair to say, a lot of hunters breed their dogs all the time, and then if there's a litter of 6, they dump 5 and pick the one that shows some possible talent, if you like, for the job they want it to do. So they're creating the stray problem.
Yes, although they don't accept it, because I was in 2 consequences appearing on TV with the president of the Federation of Hunters, and also some other articles that disagree that 90% of the dogs which are in the shelters are hunting dogs. And I challenged him many times, even in the public, and I said, let's go together to the shelters, let's count the dogs and see how many they're hunting.
Pointer black crosses.
Yes. And also I challenged him publicly on Sigma TV. I said, why don't you say that you're putting a plea of your organization for hunters to come and adopt dogs? He never did that. Because if they did, they will admit there is a problem. We don't want them. They are advertising, we are having an event to put 500 microchips. Thank you very much. We want you to adopt dogs, to close down the shelters.
And to spay your females. That's the bottom line,
yes,
isn't it?
Of course, to spay your female, as you know, it is not compulsory, I think, the right word. It has to be by law to neuter. But again, it comes in conflict with the EU law, that you are forcing your own dog by law to
be spayed.
To be spayed.
All right. Well, I suppose some people might say, yes, I would like my dog to have 1 litter of puppies, but that's a little bit different from breeding them all the time.
Yeah, but as you know, even the government is running a spay neutering program for dogs and cats. It is a Council of Ministers decision 3 years ago. I don't know how is this or how good it is.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, certainly as regards cats, it doesn't work. Because you've been in touch with people who say, well, there are cats here, oh yes, 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 and 2 years later still nothing's been done. So where the money is going and what it's being spent on is something else. Who checks that?
My dear Rosie, since 1994, because we are all foxes here, since 1994 I never agreed to give any money to any district animal welfare or the veterinary for neutering, spaying. I said, first, we need to have scientific evidence. What does that mean, Mr. Kyriakos? I said, if I put 100,000 to spay cats, I want next year the results. What happened to the previous year? Do we have an increase or decrease? If I don't have that, you're wasting your time. This is the whole issue. You need to have, first of all, nobody knows, everybody's throwing numbers, 500 strays, 1.5 million cats, 200,000 dogs. Where is the truth? Why nobody takes, and that's why I asked for a commissioner, an island-wide to register or to count all dogs, all cats, for 1 week in order to have a clear picture. And there you will find the truth. You will find how many dogs we have in our houses, how many dogs we have in cages with hunters, how many cats, because they did it in Georgia. In Georgia, they did it with a special program on a mobile. My colleagues, we met in Brussels and they showed me that. We can do the same here in Cyprus. A simple program. Every civil person, every citizen, when he sees cats, push the button, the area, photograph, and is sent to the central system, and within a week you have the results. We need results to know what is going on here in this country. Otherwise, everybody's doing what he wants, he's breeding whatever he wants, he's selling whatever he wants, he's neutering whatever he wants, and it's chaos. That's the truth.
So you'll be putting all of that to the Environment Committee today?
I put that many times. And the last time when we discussed this, I said, I put you as a responsible committee if you pass this by telling breeders, because I asked them, do you know how many breeders are in Cyprus? They don't know. Are they registered? No. If they are registered, in what conditions? What procedures? I asked them. Black and white.
Who is responsible for checking all these things, and really, how long does the committee go on talking about them before it does something?
Well, the responsible is the Veterinary Department for this, for the dog law, and according to Article 18 of Animal Welfare, something which you should know, Article 18 of Animal Welfare, it says that if the population of dogs are increased, stray, there are no stray, as you know, they all had an owner at a stage. The government takes ecological measurements to minimize the number of the population.
What measurements?
Like neutering programs, education, not euthanizing. But so far, the only thing we saw is this program, as you know, for 3 years now, neutering, and we don't have results yet. So, in other words, it's the government to mobilize Article 18 seriously, to minimize the population of dogs in 5 years, in 6 years' time, with measurements within ecological procedures, not to euthanize.
That is Kyriakos Kyriakou of the Animal Party on his way to that committee meeting dealing with the new dog law.
This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Well, it can't have escaped your attention that over in the UK there's an election going on for who will be the next Prime Minister among Conservative Party MPs. It seems to be taking up all the news. Will it make a difference, though, to education? Not just in the UK, but also for students from the EU. Now, several things have happened in the last month or so as regards education for Cypriot students in the UK. And joining us to unravel all these different stories is the spokesman of the British High Commission in Cyprus, Alex Needham. Alex, I don't know where to start. Perhaps we should start with the first event, which was talking about the fact that in Cyprus, there will be more courses available, I think, that are sanctioned by UK universities.
Obviously, education is a very important part of our collaboration with our relations with Cyprus. Thousands of Cypriot students go to the UK every year. But there's a growing trend in the education field for what they call transnational education. So that's UK institutions offering their courses and their qualifications overseas, often in collaboration with partner universities. There are already some great examples of that in Cyprus. For several years, some of these collaborations have been existing. There's one between St George's Medical College and the University of Nicosia. There's a developing one between the Royal Veterinary College and the University of Nicosia, and many more UK institutions interested in this kind of collaboration, partly because of Brexit, but also, it's widening the education offer in Cyprus, for example, maybe for those students that don't want to go abroad or can't afford to go abroad.
So let's come to the students who can go abroad, and as you said, several thousand, I think, each year go to the UK. That's great for both countries, but the fees went up not so very long ago, and with Brexit in the offing, there is uncertainty, I think, among students here who, let's face it, are probably now thinking, if they're leaving school next year, where should they apply to go? And very interesting that I think last week in Brussels an announcement was made by the universities minister that the fees would be staying the same for 20 and 21.
That's right. So at any one time, there are about 10,000 Cypriot students in the UK, about 1% of the population, so it's a huge number. And we're obviously very keen that Cypriots continue to choose the UK for their education. We have 4 out of the 10 best universities in the world, and our universities thrive on the diversity of the students that we have. So we want Cypriots to continue going there. The announcement that you refer to was by the university's minister. So he has guaranteed that Brexit or no Brexit, students going to the UK this autumn, but now also the year after, so starting courses in 2020, 2021. For the duration of their course, they are guaranteed home student fees.
As it is now.
As it is now. So that's great. And all the other financial support that students currently have access to.
And that's loans and things like that. As EU citizens, they're treated the same as British students.
Yes, exactly.
How does that work in terms of the loans?
I don't know the details of it, but all I know is this announcement guarantees that for those students starting this year and the year after, they will be treated exactly the same.
So
as
there
UK
will be
students.
parity.
Yes.
Okay, and then let's come on to the news from the British Council. Tell us about that.
So that's related to what we were saying at the start about transnational education opportunities. The British Council held a big conference in Cyprus earlier this year where they invited many UK institutions to come to meet Cypriot counterparts, to talk about the possibilities in transnational education. A few weeks ago, they released a report which is available online, which kind of outlines the opportunities and the conclusions of that conference. And that was very well received, both by UK institutions and Cypriot ones. So I understand the British Council has plans to do a similar kind of event next year. And this very much links in with Cyprus's own plans to become a regional education, science and research hub. So, I mean, it meets both countries' objectives.
And let's talk as well about past students, because at the Queen's birthday party recently, there was a whole stand there asking people who had studied in the UK to sign up to an alumni society. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so as I say, there are thousands of Cypriots that studied in the UK. We actually estimate there are at least 40,000 alumni. So, I mean, that's a huge group who are positively disposed to the UK that as a High Commission we want to stay in contact with. Now, obviously, we can't be organising events for 40,000 people. It's just not possible. So what we are doing is, first of all, we're linking up with the UK university alumni groups that already exist in Cyprus. There are around 11 or 12 UK universities that have active societies. So we're talking to them, we're attending their events, getting to know their alumni. The UK Foreign Office also had a scholarship programme in Cyprus called the Chevening Scholarship. We're also connecting with our Chevening scholars, doing networking events. We've created a platform on social media. It's a Facebook group, UK Alumni CY, where we're encouraging alumni to sign up as a way to get in touch with each other, share information about what they're doing.
What do you hope the outcome of that will be? I mean, networking's networking, and most of these people are probably employed already on their careers. They're going up the ladder because 40,000, some of them are probably almost reaching retirement age.
Yeah.
So what do you hope comes of it?
Well, we hope that normally if you study in a country, then you're positively disposed to it. You know, you like to find out what the UK is doing in your country. So, I mean, we hope to meet new people that may be relevant to areas of our work. We hope alumni will network between themselves, and perhaps new collaborations, new ideas will come out of that.
Indeed they may. So the Facebook group again for the alumni?
So it's UK Alumni CY on Facebook.
And for students who are filling in their application forms or starting to look at where they might go next year in the UK, it's the British Council mostly, I think, that deals with that. But does the High Commission have any input there?
Not really. So the British Council offer services where they can advise people on applying. They also are involved in education fairs twice a year where a number of British institutions come and want to meet prospective students. So that's really the British Council is the point of call for that one.
But it's all coordinated, I'm sure, by the British High Commission, and that was Alex Needham, their spokesperson, talking to us about the fact that if you are planning to go to the UK to study this year, or rather we should say this September or next September, you will be treated on a par with British students and nothing has changed. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.